Well, hello everybody and welcome to another edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. I, of course, am Mr. Warren Hayes, and it is time once more to talk about professional wrestling right here on the youtube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes thingy, or on your favorite podcast application thingies. Look, whatever thingy you enjoy listening to this podcast with. That sounds horrible. Thank you. I appreciate it. And leave a like on the video if you're watching on YouTube, or a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, or a 5-star rating on Spotify. And that would be tremendous. Because, look, pro wrestling, we've got stuff to talk about. We've got ourselves another packed show. We are going to be breaking down the John Cena Gunther match, John Cena's retirement match from a couple of days ago, because it's important, and mostly because I get an opportunity to talk about Paul Levesque once again. So that's going to be happening. We're going to do our weekly C2 Continental Classic over there at AEW. We're going to do our little wrap up, and a couple of more topics on top of that. It's just going to be a good time. Thank you again, everyone, for being here. Let's get to it. I don't know if you heard, but John Cena had his last match. He had it's done. It's in the can. This past Saturday on Saturday night's main event, John Cena called it quits. Literally. I legitimately needed a sound effect there. I needed like both a rim shot and rousing applause. I needed both. That's what I had to do there. Anyway, it's too late now. But he gave up the goat, and or the goat gave up, whatever you want to call it, and he's done. He is finished with professional wrestling. Both he and WWE have been insisting that no, he's not going to come back for like one match or whatever. He's completely gone from pro wrestling. He's never doing this again. It is a legitimate retirement match. We're not just going to bring him back next year and whatever the fuck. He is officially done. And I decided to watch the match, like I said, because probably, the most significant professional wrestling star of the past 20 years, calling it a career. I think that's significant enough to want to check it out, to see how it's going to end. I was, of course, very curious. I've been following his career, the last year of his career from afar, because I have no investment in WWE whatsoever. So I thought that what I would do to start with anyway, to begin with this evening, I thought that I would talk about something that not a lot of people are discussing in regards to in regards to Cena's retirement, and that is the actual match that was held between himself and Gunther, who was John Cena's final opponent. Now, because people are talking about a lot of stuff, but I feel like the match itself is not a point of discussion, and there's reasons for that. And I will actually touch on those for a second later on. I'll talk about that and so on in a little bit. So I don't know if this is a hot take. You can tell me. I did not hate this match. In fact, I kind of liked it. I thought the match was good. Fine match. Didn't think it was terrible by any stretch of the imagination. I actually thought that they both worked a very, very clear style, one that was entirely built on some very, very old school principles, and I thought they both did their I think that they both worked it to the best of the ability, to the best of John Cena's ability. I was trying to be cute with it, but might as well just go with it, right? I don't think anyone was expecting a work rate spectacular, and that's not what we did. Like, I'm not going to sit here and try to compare this to, what Kyle Fletcher and Speedball did a week ago. We're not going to be stupid here. But, I look at this match overall and how it was constructed and how it was built and how they were telling a very, very clear story throughout the entire match, which was Gunther wants to end this match putting John Cena to sleep. Super early on in the match, he's locking on the sleeper hold, and John is, he's got all of his his wits about him. He hasn't been grinded down enough, so he's able to fight out of the sleeper holds. But as the match goes on, he's staying in when Gunther wraps his biceps around him, John stays in the hold a little longer. Takes him a little more time to sneak out. And I appreciated that. So when they do get to the end, where essentially Gunther just has him strapped in, I'm like, this makes perfect sense. This has been very good. And yes, I was expecting, as probably most of you and most of the people watching in the arena and at home, I was expecting John to mount the big Super Cena babyface comeback and get the win. And I would have been like, well, okay, one more time, John Cena overcoming extreme adversity. He's the hero. He's the top guy. This is what John Cena does, right? So I was like, all right, nice little way for him to go out. But no, he gets choked out to the point that he liked that freak. And I was surprised. I was really, really surprised. Shocked even. And I sat there and I was like, this is actually a pretty good finish. And this was actually a really well put together match. For what it was, again, this is not going to be on my match of the year list. What am I cracking here? A 3.25, 3.5 star match? It's a good match. It's what it was. I wasn't like sweating bullets. I wasn't like wondering if John Cena was ever going to survive here or whatnot. It's like, I don't have a problem with the match in and about itself. Look, the things that annoyed me are things that have annoyed me in John Cena matches for the past 20 years. The 5-knuckle shuffle that, barely lands on the guy's forehead and John calling the spots out loud. I mean, all these little the STF. Oh, Jesus Christ. For one last time, I got to see the shittiest STF ever that John Cena locks in every time, that looks soft as a feather touch. Every time he locks in that STF, I'm like, oh, it's rest time. It's sleepy time period now, because everyone can relax because it doesn't look painful in the least. So, all these little things that already annoyed me with John Cena ended up annoying me one last time, But that's, that's just me. Like the work wasn't tight. It wasn't crisp. But, I love, the one part that I really liked was when Gunther does this little sequence where he's landing all of his big offense, right? He hits a lariat, then a German suplex, I believe, and then his power bomb, right? And John kicks out of that. But I'm like, all right, like that was a lot of fun. I thought that was really that was good, and was a good like little swell, where just hitting some big moves and John is kicking out, keeping the flame alive. Like I said, it's there were some nice little moments, but I think it was a well worked, for again, to the level that it could be worked. That it was well put together. I thought smartly put together, with a very, very easy story to follow, but that was done very, very effectively. And we ended up getting a tremendous finish, I thought. One that surprised me, surprised everyone, surprised some people more than others. I will say that the goofy smile was absolutely unnecessary. The goofy smile as John passes away, that was 100% unnecessary. I don't know who decided to do that. I think that, you know, if he had just passed out like completely, I think that would have been better. I think it would have made the moment much more realer. And I understand why he did it. Okay. Like, I understand the psychology, big quotation marks, as to why he smiled, right? I still think it's dumb. I still think it's dumb. Because, you know, in a couple of weeks, you know, I don't think Hiroshi Tanahashi is going to be smiling his way into oblivion if Kazuchika Okada slaps on the money clip. You know what I mean? Like, that's just shit that annoys me. It's shit that annoys me. It's sports entertainment nonsense, and for me, it just soured me on the finish. I was like, this is dumb. They really didn't have to do this. They really didn't have to have John do a smile, and I say they, you know, overall, you know, the collective they of everyone who worked to produce this match, right? I don't know, but you know, I think overall it's minimal, because I think it's just distracting people from coming around to the fact that this was a good match. I thought this was a good match, and as good as you could get out of John Cena at this point of his career, right? But you know, fans today, they're not the same fans that were around when I was watching WWE and Cena was at the forefront. Because look, this is how much fan turnaround has happened in WWE. It struck me in this. It struck me in this match, particularly because I haven't been watching anything else, right? This is always with this caveat. So these are the things so if there's things here that strike me and you go, well, Warren, they've been doing this for months now. I'm like, well, you know, okay, but it's still bad. When Cena came out, people were singing along with this song. They were singing the "You Can't See Me, My Time Is Now" thing, those lyrics. The people were singing along. Now, this is a new thing. This is a new thing that WWE fans, wrestling fans have a tendency to do, and that is sing along to entrance songs, right? So I've never seen, this is the example. This is the thing when I'm telling you that I have never seen or heard anyone do this, right? This is something new. This is where the turnaround kicks in. There are so many new fans here watching this who probably either were tiny little kids watching Cena back in the day, or just, you know, or weren't watching, because no one from that time period who would be still watching today would be singing along with "You Can't See Me, My Time Is Now." They wouldn't be singing that part of the song. They would be singing "John Cena Sucks" along with the horns at the start of the song, like any self-respecting wrestling fan did during the majority of John Cena's Super Cena run. That's what we did. And I didn't hear any "John Cena Sucks," which kind of sucks, because it's also like, it's sort of become an endearment. It's sort of become a term of endearment. It's exactly like Kurt Angle with the "You Suck" stuff for his entrance theme. At some point, Kurt Angle was like, they're not really saying that because they don't like me. They're saying that because it's part, you know, they're in on it. It's part of the game, and they love me, and it's, you know, it's a term of endearment now. And that's exactly what it was with Cena and the John Cena suck. Again, not back like in 2010, but when he started coming back part-time, yeah, it absolutely became the you know, a term of endearment. It became just part of the lore. Now you did it ironically, whereas we back in the day would do it sincerely, where we were like, no, John Cena does suck. So to hear that, I was like, it completely baffled me, and it made me realize just how little I have in common now with the run-of-the-mill WWE fan, and how much they have changed. Because anyone that I was watching with back in the day, if they were watching this, their first thing they'd do is be up on their feet singing John Cena sucks, not singing along to You Can't See Me, My Time Is Now. No one did that. But these are new fans that are a part of the new way of doing things in WWE, who are there for the entrances, who sing along with the theme song. So they've adopted this part of Cena's theme, and they sing along to it because it's the easiest one to sing along to, I guess, but they don't do John Cena sucks. So with the fans having that level of difference, right, from back in the day to now, I can also understand why WWE fans didn't like the finish, even though I thought it was perfectly okay. Yeah, these fans, first and foremost, the fans that were there wanted a party. They wanted to celebrate one more time with John Cena, the conquering hero, you know, at the top of his game, one last time, you know, and just make it feel special, right? They wanted the feel good finish, and instead they got the opposite. They got a pro wrestling finish instead of a, you know, sports entertainment finish, right? That's essentially it. So on one hand, they wanted the party, but on the other hand, they got a finish that they are not used to seeing, because WWE has trained their audience to not expect clean, decisive finishes in their pro wrestling matches. WWE has trained their fans to expect nonsense and interferences and surprises, you know, and cash-ins and all this fucking bullshit, so that when your match, when it ends, when it comes down to it, and your match ends in a pro wrestling finish, they don't know what to do. They don't know how to react. They're like, wait a second, we were supposed to get, you know, a celebratory finish here. Why is this ending on this note? It's not ending in the sports entertainment way. And you know how I know I'm right about this? How I am 100% convinced that I am right about this exact fact, that the finish that they got was not the finish that they have come to expect from WWE. This is why. Michael Cole, when the match was over, said, and I quote, "Tonight, professional wrestling has destroyed sports entertainment." So this was planned and executed in that vein. This is part of what they were trying to say. And I was like, Cole, what are you doing? Do you want me to stand up and cheer here? Like, this is actually making me happy. That's the finish they wanted. That's the finish they were going for. And it is such a standard, well, I don't want to say standard, but it is such a classic. How about that? A classic pro wrestling finish that the World Wrestling Entertainment fans don't know what to do with it. How many run-ins were there in this match? 0. How many lights out, lights back on stuff? 0. How many surprise appearances happened in this match? 0. It was a straight down the middle professional wrestling match. One that you hardly see in main events in World Wrestling Entertainment in the year of our Lord 2025, soon to be 2026. And now, the WWE house organs have all been on social media today and over the weekend. But I find today, I guess a lot of them are back to work today. Trying to explain, to give story to this, to give story to what happened. With Bubba Ray Dudley comparing this to Obi-Wan Kenobi letting himself get struck down by Darth Vader, which of course, right, that's what he's going to go for, which is also an asinine comparison, but we're not necessarily going to get into that. But all of the house organs have all been trying to explain to the WWE, the angry WWE fans as to, oh, well, this is what they were trying to tell. This was the story. And they're all missing the point. Because the story of this match was extremely clear throughout the entirety of it. From start to finish, Gunther spent the majority of the match trying to get John Cena in a sleeper hold, and he finally was successful. And Cena struggled, fought, but Gunther was better than him on this night. That's the story. You shouldn't be talking about fucking Obi-Wan Kenobi. There's no point. Because that's not the story of the match. That's not the story that was being told here. But you see, since the sports entertainment brained fans don't understand what's going on because they're not used to seeing pro wrestling finishes, the house organs have to create a story around the finish so that it'll resonate with the WWE brain rot. Whereas, again, I can't say this enough. Whereas they had a clear, really well done pro wrestling finish from a pro wrestling story that was told in the ring from top to bottom. So honestly, that's the thing. The WWE right now are reaping, it's the opposite. They're reaping what they have sown for the past 2 decades, training their fans to not be into this shit. And then they come and do that stuff and the fans revolt. They're not happy about it. And to the point, right? In the nice little curated post shows that they do now, right? No more messy press around, right? Asking embarrassing questions. Excuse me, Mr. Levesque, have you read the lawsuit? And that era is over. Now they do their nice little, their insulated little post shows, right? Even on that one, you had Pete Rosenberg, right? That absolute doofus, right? You had this guy on that show on WWE television outright saying, hey, you know what? Obviously, Cena had the pull to change the finish if he didn't like it. Something to that effect. But he's saying out loud on WWE programming that this is how, look, Cena could have changed the finish. He's doing the smart fan shit on official WWE programming. WWE, Rosenberg specifically, felt comfortable enough to stick up and defend Paul Levesque's terrible creative and poor decision making by breaking WWE's own kayfabe and completely tearing down the illusion, going, oh, well, creatively he could have done something, which is bonkers to me. Not that I'm saying, well, kayfabe has to be protected on, kayfabe has to be protected. It sucks and we have to go back to, how kayfabe was in 1987. That's not what I'm saying. But you're completely removing the illusion. Like, it's completely gone at this point. It's as if, let's say you're watching Lost. You're watching the TV show Lost. Yes, my references are super dated, but bear with me here. And at some point in season 4, Hurley turns to the camera and says, yeah, I tried to veto this decision, but this season would have been a lot better if we had figured out what the polar bear was all about. You see what that's what's bonkers here. And they're doing it to stick up for fucking Paul Levesque and his creative. But we're going to get there. I still want to finish this off here. It's crazy that they did all this grandstanding for a finish that I thought was absolutely fine, but that was absolutely ill-advised for WWE fans who are brain rotted into believing that a real pro wrestling finish is garbage and junk. And the post match as well, right? I watched the whole thing. The post match was extremely embarrassing. I thought that the finish of the post match with Cena going around from corner to corner, posing with the world title and the phony world title, going from corner to corner to pose with them when he had not won, and he's not a champion and whatnot. I thought that was embarrassing. That had big time Lex Luger's SummerSlam 93 vibes to me. I was like, what the fuck are they doing here? And you could kind of tell Cena, of course, he's an actor, he can ham it up, whatever. But you could kind of tell, like, he was going from corner to corner going, what is this? And it felt like a consolation prize. It felt like something that just had to be done because the air had been sucked out of the room from, even the cheers when he was doing the title stuff, they weren't as strong. They weren't as potent. There weren't big pops for John Cena walking around with a pair of titles that he didn't win after a heartbreaking loss to celebrate like he had won. It was very, very discouraging. And you know what could have kept that from happening? You know how that could have been fixed? If John Cena won. If John Cena had won, none of this embarrassing, extremely embarrassing, I would say, what's the word I'm looking for? Emasculating? Maybe not. I might be going a little far there. But I can't find the word, but we'll go with embarrassing. That whole embarrassing display of him at the end would have been completely avoided if he had won the match. If he had just won the match, and if Paul Levesque had done what he should have done and just give the paying audience a party, a moment to celebrate with John Cena one last time with a big, big high. If he had allowed that to happen, if he had been, a fraction of the creative mind that he says he is, and as in tune with the audience as he likes to pretend he is, he would have let this happen. Oh, but Gunther gets the rub. We've talked about this. There is no more rub. There is no rub in this company. There's no rub to be had from John Cena. Not that you couldn't benefit from a John Cena rub. Mind you, what I'm saying is that the rub, as we usually like to call it in pro wrestling, it doesn't exist in WWE. First of all, a rub will only be as good as the booking that follows, as the follow-up booking. That will always be the case. You can have one guy, you can have Billy Kidman beat Hulk Hogan, but if the post-match, if the the booking post-victory doesn't follow up properly, doesn't help create the star, what good is the rub? I mean, they already did the rub thing with Austin Theory and John Cena. How did that turn out? So, it's like, people say, oh, Gunther, he's getting the rub. There's no rub. The thing here, the crucial thing is that the crucial thing to remember is that in WWE, whoever the company decides to push is going to be the guy, regardless of the rub. Otherwise, Austin Theory should technically be a world champion or something to that effect. He should be a top guy, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because WWE is just going to continue pushing, is going to push whoever they want. And their fans are going to take it and they're going to lap it up. That's just how it goes. There is no rub. There is no kickoff point in WWE from beating someone and then becoming someone bigger. I even heard it, with Lyra Valkyria beating, in her feud with Becky Lynch. Oh, where's Lyra Valkyria's huge main event moment here? Where is she? Like, what's she doing? Like, it's a big win for Gunther, don't get me wrong, but there's no rub. There's no rub. Not in this company. I would even argue that there's no rub in pro wrestling period anymore. Look at Ricky Starks when he beat Chris Jericho. Oh, Jesus. When he beat Chris Jericho in AEW, you were like, there we go. Rocket strap. Let's see how that turned out. So look, ultimately, that's how I feel about the match. That's how I feel about the match and the post match and whatnot. But we still got more to talk about. We're not done talking about this match because there's more repercussions. There's more juicy bits that exist here that just may involve a certain creative genius named Paul Levesque. And as a member of the fraudulent Paul Levesque Club, it is my pleasure once again to dress down this man. Because when he comes out with the rest of the WWE superstars to join everyone at ringside, he is booed. Of course, he's the first guy to come out, right? And he is booed. The fans are not happy. No hesitation, no confusion. His boos are loud. The fans are 100% expressing their disgust here. And every time like the camera pops on him, or when he jumps up on the apron, to hug Cena and then point to the video wall so that they can watch the very good video recap of John Cena's career. Crowd is booing. They're not into it. They go to their little insulated little post show. The post show where Triple H, the post show where Triple H no longer has to deal with all of these journalists and their incessant questions about Vince. Now he just talks with other guys from his company and they're all terrified that they're going to lose their jobs and whatnot. And then you have the crowd in the back. And usually the crowd is very hype and they're into it, but they are not happy. They are chanting, "You fucked up," to Paul, who is sitting down looking at them. And what does he say? He says, "I'm disappointed. I thought you'd be louder." Because of course, look, guys, gals, non-binary pals, Paul Levesque, he's not mad. He's not mad. Why are you saying he's mad? Don't put in the papers that he's mad. He's not mad. Paul Levesque is not mad. See, he's like, "I thought you guys would be angrier." And he's smiling. This is the report, right? This was fed to Fightful today on the Monday, 15th of December, was fed to Fightful that during the finish, Paul Levesque was smiling in gorilla. So he's not gotten to. He's not mad. Look, we got all these reports saying he's not mad. And he's smiling. He thought the reaction would have been louder. He can't be mad. He can't be mad. He's smiling. What reaction did he... So, okay, the reaction wasn't loud enough. What reaction were you expecting to get, Paul? Because I'm pretty sure you weren't expecting to get AEW chants on your programming. I'm pretty sure you weren't expecting to get We Want Vince chants, right? I mean, maybe that was the goal. Maybe that was the goal. Maybe you did want AEW chants on your little post-show gimmick. Congratulations, buddy. You got exactly what you wanted then. The problem is that they're coming out there and the crowd is upset, and even the commentators around the table are breaking kayfabe to try and cover up what the fuck is going on, to try and make excuses, to try and defend, put up shields around Paul Levesque, because once again, for some reason, he can't be to blame. Like, what Rosenberg tried to do was put up shields and deflect to John Cena. Well, if John Cena didn't like the finish, he could have done something about it. But again, like, we're in a position where, look, the thing is that I agree. I agree with Rosenberg when he says Cena could have probably just pulled a power play and say, we're not doing this. He could have. And maybe this is the finish he pushed for too. We don't know. But ultimately, there's one guy in charge. And I say the same thing with Tony Khan whenever there's shitty stuff that happens in AEW, and it applies here as well. There's one guy who decides what goes on TV and what doesn't. There's one guy who rubber stamps everything. And it is Paul Levesque. And whether it was his decision or not, just like the WrestleMania debacle with The Rock and Cody, whether it's his call or not, it is his decision. It is his call. He's in charge of creative. Creative stinks. It is his fault. He will be the first to tell you how much of a genius he is when everything is great. Whenever they're packing up houses and beating arena records again, like, he will be the first to pat himself, and flex and give you a big smile. But when things start to go wrong, though, when things aren't exactly, then suddenly it's someone else's fault. And that is fucking bullshit. That is absolutely fucking bullshit. And they tried it on Cena. They tried to scapegoat him a couple of months ago when they were saying, about, John Cena wanted Brock Lesnar when they brought Brock Lesnar in, and people were going, ill-advised. When Brock Lesnar showed up and people went, maybe not a good idea considering the context. Look, Paul, we know you haven't read the lawsuit, but this probably wasn't a great idea. And then Levesque was like, well, it's John. John wanted Brock. Brock, he did what? And what did John say in an interview? He didn't make a big deal out of it, but he did let it slide. He said, look, I just show up and they tell me what to do. And then Rosenberg goes and says, Cena could have changed and meanwhile, Cena is like, nah, I just show up and tell me what to do. Look, they could all be bullshitting. Don't get me wrong here. They could all be bullshitting. But what I pick up publicly is that Cena has no time for this bullshit. Has no time. And he's not going to be taking the fall for weird decisions that Paul Levesque is making, right? But they were back at it again, putting up shields to protect Paul. And that's what all the fucking grifters again, all of the fed-pilled commentators started doing again today with the Obi-Wan comparisons and so on and so forth. Look, as I said previously, just a few minutes ago, they had to explain it to the brain rot fan base because the brain rotted fan base don't understand what a proper pro wrestling finish is. So they have to explain it to them. They have to walk them through it like they're children. But what else are they doing here? What else? They're protecting Paul Levesque once again instead of letting the man take his licks for having come up with a a poor decision and just some poor creative this entire year. I would argue that this finish would have been much better received if this entire year of John Cena's retirement had been better booked. Because let's be honest, I think it is pretty much universal. John Cena's retirement year stunk. And if it's not universal, we need to shake some trees. This was not good. This was not good. For a man the caliber of star that is John Cena to get this kind of slapdash haphazard booking to wrap up a legendary career. No, they should be dragging Triple H out and to tar and feather him. And he should be taking his licks like a man. But you see, like, that's the thing, is that this man is extremely gotten to. He is the thinnest skinned person working in wrestling today. All right? He's doing the post show, and he's trying to talk through the "you fucked up" stuff. But then, like, when the AEW chants start, when the "we want Vince" chants start, you go back and watch it, and you will see him cycle through his emotions live on TV, because he's not a good actor. You know, he likes to think like he's this stoic, hard to read poker face dude, right? This alpha male. He likes to think it, but he's not. He's paper thin. You can read this fucker like a book. The smile fades. You know, you get the tightened jaw. You know, it's like, Ugh. He's pissed. He's pissed as all as this is happening because he's trying to talk. And then you got his own fans in the background chanting for the other company, which, by the way, why weren't these fans chanting for TNA, the number 2 company in North America, in the United States? Why were they chanting? Why were they not chanting for TNA if TNA is the second biggest promotion in North America? Why were they chanting AEW? Why not TNA? But he's angry. He's sitting out there. He's angry. He is the most easily rattled, paper soft power figure pro wrestling has in this era. And it's crazy because at the same time, he is in charge of the creative of the undisputed biggest, most powerful wrestling promotion that ever fucking existed in the history of humanity. He's in charge of it. And yet, he's going to be gotten to by the mildest criticisms. He's going to get upset when people get upset that he's booking John Cena like, terribly. It's crazy. And, I've already heard people suggest that Levesque should lean into a Mr. McMahon type deal now moving forward, right? He has what he should do is become a Mr. McMahon type and lean into the hatred, right? And just do a Vince thing again, right? Because first of all, because he doesn't have any real ideas of his own, first and foremost, but also doing that is a good idea. Here's what I say to that. I say he can't do it. I say he won't do it. Because Vince embraced the hatred, but Triple H wants to be loved. He wants to be appreciated. He wants to be put on a pedestal. He is desperate to be liked in a way that he never was when he was a pro wrestler. When fans knew and saw that he was overrated, that he was in that position out of circumstance, while he was cosplaying as a top guy. He was never that way because his peers were much more popular than he was and openly disliked him on top of that. He was rubbing his hands together when John Cena and The Rock both left the company. And he was like, all right, I'm up next. And then this John Cena fella comes out of nowhere. Now that he's in power, my theory about this man stays intact. And pretend that the Santa hat right now is a tinfoil hat, okay? Purely conspiratorial. It is a theory. My theory remains intact, though. He's going to use the power that he has now to make sure that wrestlers that came up alongside him, the ones who were better, more popular, more beloved, better workers, he is going to make sure that they never outshine him again. He is going to make sure that the biggest star in World Wrestling Entertainment is him. I'm being highly conspiratorial here, but I find it really, really hard to believe that he could not plot a clear vision for John Cena, the biggest wrestling star of the past 20 years. A truly legendary career. 100% Hall of Famer. I don't understand how he was unable to give this man an incredible send-off outside of him throwing his weight around now because he feels he can. Triple H will forever be a guy. When he was a wrestler, he was a guy who wanted to be a top guy and cosplayed as a top guy to the detriment of the respect of his peers, to wrestling fans who didn't understand the push. And now that he's head of creative, he's just another type of cosplayer. Now he's just cosplaying as the guy in charge, as a creative guy, when in fact he has no real ideas. All of them are derivative. All of them are cast off ideas that Vince had. All of his most successful projects that he has had since taking over creative for WWE have all been Vince ideas that were all set in motion by Vince before he was ousted. And Paul drove them into the ground, and he has not had a single successful original idea since he's become the guy in charge of creative for this company. He's a fraud, and I think there's fans more and more that are starting to see through it. I think that WWE fans I think that the honeymoon is done. I think there's a lot of them who are ready to no longer have any grace to extend to Paul Levesque and what he does. I think he's done. I don't think he has the fan base that he inherited from Vince, where WWE could do no wrong and Triple H could do no wrong, right? He came in, the bad man was gone. This was the guy we can trust. This is the guy who created NXT, who showed us what his vision of pro wrestling would be. Got all the smarks on his side, and then somehow it's all come apart. It's all undone. He is much more concerned about himself and his own perception, and he is not in the slightest. He is not creative in the slightest. He is a boardroom creative. Have you ever thought, folks, how many creative risks WWE could take with the amount of money that they drag in every day, at every show, at every broadcast? Have you ever thought of how much they could be trying out new things, new ideas, but they don't. They just don't want to do it. And Paul Levesque is very comfortable in not trying anything out because he doesn't have the stuff. He doesn't have the ideas or the creative mind to pull it off. He's a cosplayer. Always has been. And what he has done with NXT is create, a generation of professional wrestlers who will look up to him, who will talk about him with respect because he gave them opportunities and whatnot. That's a real thing that exists right now. But he had to do that because none of his peers respect him. And I want you to think about another guy who's looking for the NXT job once Shawn Michaels is no longer around, and how much respect that guy commands from his peers. I want you to think about that too. Isn't that interesting? Anyway, Paul Levesque is a fraud. He's a creative fraud. And it is my pleasure once again to dress him down. And he should be getting all the blame. There's no deflections to be made. If you are upset with the finish and you wanted to see John Cena get a good, positive, exciting send-off, there's only one man to blame. And it's not John Cena, who could have changed the finish if he wanted to. No, it's one man. Because this is not going to work. We're going to talk. Let's recap the Continental Classic. Let's see where we're at right now in the C2. Which, chat, correct me if I'm wrong. I want your thoughts. Is this the best edition of the C2 so far? Is this the best edition of the Continental Classic so far? Because your boy Warren has a tendency to say yes. Yes, it is. Yes, it. I really do believe that that this has been absolutely killer so far. In the Gold League, Kazuchika Okada, Speedball, Mike Bailey, and Kyle Fletcher are all at the top with 6 points, followed by Kevin Knight and Pac with 3, and Jungle Jack Perry with the big old goose egg still doesn't have a single win. So, I was looking at this earlier, assembling some thoughts. There is no one right now who is mathematically eliminated, or even that I would say is soft eliminated. And, the soft eliminations in the G1 is essentially someone who is not technically eliminated, but because of the number of matches that are left and the opponents that they have left to face, or because of context, because of, the top of the league or the block not being very, very high up, and, because of maybe non-mathematical things, but just like logical reasoning. Sometimes you can just like soft eliminate someone and say, well, this person here is not going to make it. But there's no one here that we can exclude from the conversation so far. Okada and Bailey and Fletcher and Knight both have 2 matches left, whereas Pac and Jungle Jack, they still have 3 matches left. So there's still a potential for Fletcher or Okada or Bailey to score another 6 points and get up to 12. And I say either Okada or Bailey because they still have to fight each other. So either Okada is going to make it to 12, or he's going to make it either he's going to make it to 12 or he's going to make it to 9, or it's going to be Bailey because they both have a match left. So neither of these guys has the potential to make it to 12. But Kyle Fletcher does. He has Pac left, he has Jungle Jack left. You could assume, you could say that the strongest competition for Fletcher is behind him right now. Right? I don't think Jack Perry is necessarily going to be a problem. And, well, Pac might, maybe you could justify a loss to Pac without much of an issue, right? But somehow I feel like Kyle Fletcher is going to end up in the he's going to be number 2. That would be my prediction. I still think Okada's winning, and I think Okada's going to be number 2. And what's going to happen then is that Kyle Fletcher, being the number 2 seed of the Gold League, is going to meet the number 1 seed of the Blue League, who is going to be Kyle Fletcher, and that is going to cause a disaster. That's not going to make people happy at all, and it's going to be a battle of friends. And I think that has the potential to be really, really interesting. That would be the scenario I'd look for. So we'll have to see how this turns out. There's always the possibility of draws as well, but pretty much everyone still has the potential to score high. Jack Perry, if he look, the next match that Jack Perry loses, he's out. Like the next match he loses, he's out. Whether it's Fletcher, Bailey, Pac, he's gone if he can't win the next one. Because otherwise his potential then will be to only get up to 6 points. Right? And there has to be a result when it comes to Okada and Speedball. There has to be a result. So one of these two guys, even if Bailey loses his match to Perry and Okada loses his match tonight, either of these two guys are going to score some points. They're either going to score 3 or they're going to score 1. So if Jack Perry is at 6, so Jack Perry absolutely has to be at 9 to have a shot to still be in it. That's the floor he has to clear. So the minute Jack Perry loses a match, he's completely done. What matches did we have over the past couple of days? I just realized I don't have my notebook with me. I don't have my notebook. Why do I not have my notebook where I keep my notes, my match notes? Now I feel completely. Hang on, I have to go get it. Otherwise they're. All right. We're back. Great job, streamer. Excellent work. So let's see. So as you can tell, I am not super prepared. So if we go back to last Wednesday's Dynamite, which would be the last time that we talked about the C2, we had Jack Perry versus Kazuchika Okada, which was good. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. Then we had Speedball Mike Bailey versus Kyle Fletcher, which was excellent and an incredible match. Like you've all heard about it so far, right? How fucking great this match is. And if you haven't seen it, you absolutely have to double back and watch it. You have to find time to do so. It was phenomenal. Like a great piece of business for the Gold League there. And then the next Gold League match was this Saturday on Collision, Speedball versus Kevin Knight, which was very good. Another excellent match. That was tremendous. And that's it as far as the Gold League goes. Those were the matches we had. Yeah, I gave Bailey versus Fletcher 4 3/4 stars. Just an absolute delight. What a great fucking match. What a great match. It's like I say on the reviews, I'm very thankful for the Continental Classic at this time of year. Very, very thankful for it. Because there's a lot of other stuff happening in AEW that if it wasn't for the high quality of wrestling that we've been getting, thanks to the C2, I might not have this perpetual smile. Let's put it that way. So this is where we're at with the Gold League. So look, Fletcher is the only guy that's left that has the potential to walk away with a decisive win. He's the only for the block, right? With the full 12 points. He's the only guy who can do it because, like we mentioned, Speedball can't. Well, or Speedball or Okada. I'm sorry. It's either Fletcher or Speedball or Okada. It'll be either one of those. It'll be 2 out of those 3. But either Okada or Bailey. It can't be. Anyway, we already talked about it. We already mentioned it. Let's go take a look at the Blue League side of things, where things got really interesting this weekend. We've got Claudio Castagnoli and Konosuke Takeshita at 7 points because they went to a time limit draw and their match on Collision this weekend. So they are currently tied at the top with 7 points. Jon Moxley, Mascara Dorada, and Orange Cassidy all have 3 points. And Roderick Strong is at 0 still. Roderick Strong is in the exact same spot as Jack Perry in the Gold League, where if Strong loses his next match, he's done. He's out of the tournament. So this one is interesting as well, because a little more interesting. Like, Claudio has only 1 match left, and I've sort of complained about this. I'm going to complain about it a little again. I wish the matches were laid out all ahead of time so that we could see what the schedule looks like, and maybe like space things out so that this kind of thing doesn't happen in the league, in your block, where you have guys who still only have 2 matches wrestled, and then you have one guy who has 4 matches done. He only has 1 more left. That's kind of counterintuitive to the drama. And I think, so Claudio essentially, the best that he can hope for at this point is to finish with 10 points. That's the best he can hope for. He can hope that Jon Moxley doesn't win his next 2. Because if Claudio wins and is at 10, and Mox then gets 6 points, wait a second. No. If Claudio wins his next one, Moxley is out. If Claudio wins his next match, Mox is out. Because the maximum that Mox can get now, because he's got 2 matches left, is 9. So we're figuring this out live here. Takeshita has the potential to get 13 points if he wins his next 2. So he is in a position where he could be where he can get to double digits, just like Claudio, but a higher double digit number than Claudio. And Mox, then, the best he can go for is 9 points. So that's very interesting. Same goes with Roderick Strong. Strong has to win his next 3 matches, which seems a little improbable. Seems improbable. He might beat Claudio, though, because I don't think Claudio's moving forward. I think Claudio is. I think he might come up second, but he's not winning the block is what I meant when I said moving forward. I think he's not winning the block, but he has the potential to still come in like second runner-up, the second seed, but he'd have to beat Roderick Strong. And I think Roderick Strong is soon going to be in a position where he's going to start acting as a spoiler for these guys, because he's got both of the Death Riders on his card left. So we'll see. Mascara Dorada has a potential, could make 9 more points, so he could be up there at 12. Seems doubtful. And it's the same thing with Orange Cassidy, but Mascara Dorada's second seed, second place, moving on to face, let's say, Kazuchika Okada on the other side. Could be for a fun pay-per-view event. That could be interesting. I'd be surprised. I would legitimately be surprised. You'd have to beat Takeshita, which is very improbable. Roderick Strong, maybe. Orange Cassidy, maybe. Those are 2 that you can throw out there more. But I have the impression that Konosuke Takeshita is going to be super protected, super duper protected throughout the what's left in the C2, because of his main event that's coming up on January 4th, well, it's not going to be the main event. We're going to talk about it in a second, but his big match in the Tokyo Dome. I think he's going to be protected. I think that's why Tony Khan went with the draw. 2 world champions in 2 partner promotions. And Tony Khan went, look, I'll protect both of your guys. We're not going to do, I'm not going to screw around with your titles. And, I would assume that New Japan would be telling Tony, hey, you know what? We would like it if our guy didn't lose. We would like that if our guy didn't lose because, he's going to be in the biggest match. He's going to be one of the biggest matches of our biggest drawing Tokyo Dome ever. So we kind of like him to come across strong. Look, I wouldn't be surprised if Takeshita wins his last 2 matches. I've been saying this since we started speculating on the C2. I think Takeshita's winning. I think Takeshita is beating Kazuchika Okada in the finals and he's winning. And then he's going over to the Tokyo Dome on January 4th and he's dropping the title to Yota Tsuji. I think that's what's happening. So I wouldn't be surprised in the least here if Takeshita wins his next 2. If he wins his next 2, well, then that means that Mascara Dorada will be up to 9 points, which could still potentially could still potentially mean that he could move forward. Potentially, but not necessarily. Definitely not a lock. Let's put it that way. And look, I wouldn't be surprised if, Dorada finishes with a pretty good record. He could beat Roderick Strong. He could beat Orange Cassidy, get 6 extra points, finish with 9. I think that's very respectable for a guest coming in. But there's no way he's beating Takeshita. There's just no way. It's the second spot that's going to be interesting. Is it going to be Mox or is it going to be Claudio? And now that Claudio was in a draw, there's no chance for Jon Moxley or Claudio Castagnoli to get the same amount of points, to even out at the same amount of points and then have to use a tiebreaker. So it'll be interesting. I mean, look, there's some great matches still left here, which is tremendous. And in the Blue League, we didn't have that much Blue League activity over the past few, but we did get, let me see through my notes. We did get Konosuke Takeshita versus Claudio Castagnoli, which was incredible. That was so good. Just a fight. And this was a 20-minute match and it just blew by. Just absolutely blew by. And on a great collision on top of that. Like the collision this week was a blast. It was so much fun. But yeah, I gave it 4.25 stars for Takeshita versus Castagnoli. Look, I'm telling you, I think the level of competition in the C2 this year has been extremely good. I think it's been better overall than last year. They're really finding their footing here. And when I say they, I mean AEW, principally Tony Khan, basically filling out fields of guys who are able to get in there and wrestle and have these high level pro wrestling matches that you would expect in these types of round robin environments. It sucks for Darby Allin, don't get me wrong, but it's taken a couple of years, and I think we might have a couple more to go, but I feel like the identity of the Continental Classic is becoming more and more focused year after year. Like, don't forget the first year, right? We had a 3-way in one of the leagues to determine the winner, which I absolutely hated. I was like, how do you get a 3-way in this block here? That I completely hated that. Last year was good. I thought it was an improvement over year one, but this year is very much better. I think this one is much, much better again. And they're really finding the groove, and they're starting to feel the identity of the Continental Classic. So there you go. And what's unfortunate is that it's hard to compare whether or not, year over year to see if the C2 is indeed still a ratings grabber as it has been over the past couple of years, So we'll see. We'll see how it all ends up. But my prediction is still Kazuchika Okada and Konosuke Takeshita. And they both have to be in the same spot in their leagues. They can't cross over. Right? You can't have Takeshita finishing second and Okada finishing first. So they either both have to be second or they both have to be first. And I don't mind that. I'm sure some people find that maybe a little predictable. But, sometimes in pro wrestling, predictable is fine. It's better than trying too hard. And you get the predictable, and then it becomes more about the journey as opposed to the destination. If we know what the destination is, then we don't, if we know what the destination is, then it all becomes about the trek to get there. And that's where you can do some really, really interesting, fascinating things. There you go. That's our little update. The Continental Classic December. On this December 15, 2025. Case in point, I can't believe that I'm talking about Matt Hardy again. This guy, this fucking guy, this guy who doesn't care about 5-star matches. The Dodge partnership doesn't get. What? No. Listen, one thing at a time. This guy here, this fucking guy, okay, outright says, I don't care what people on the internet think about. What I don't care what people on the internet think a 5-star match is like. All I care about is creating good stories. Who cares about 5-star matches, right? Now, we talked about this on Monday, and I legitimately was like, good, we're done. Never speak on it again. But of course, we're not done, okay? Because two of the most terminally online professional wrestlers decided to go after each other. Okay? Oh my God. Dax Harwood thought it was a great idea, right? Because it's Dax, right? Dax thought it was a great idea to jump on the internet and subtweet, which don't get me wrong, I appreciate it. Okay? I appreciate it. But jumping online to subtweet Matt Hardy's comments. This is what he said here. A big shout out to Ian Carey from the Figure 4 Online to reading this article here, okay? This is what Dax said on Twitter. I think in wrestling, the older you get, the more you complain about 5-star matches. What was this guy saying on Monday? Amongst other things. Yeah, I was saying a lot of things. I also think the older you get, the more you secretly wish you had 5-star matches, whatever a 5-star match even is. Now, when someone suggested Harwood stop listening to Dave Meltzer, Harwood responded, I think calling Dave a moron is insane. He's probably wrestling's most accurate historian. While I may not agree with some of his star ratings, that doesn't mean he's wrong. That means he has a different opinion than I do, which is absolutely okay. To me, Brainbusters versus Howard Foundation SummerSlam 89 is a 5-star tag match. To Dave, it's a 2. Who's wrong? Who's right? Who gives a fuck? As long as we all enjoy wrestling. Now, I have issues with what Dax said here, but I don't, it's like, sure, like everything is subjective. I understand. But it's like everyone automatically just dismisses these days, right? Everyone dismisses Dave's star ratings, but yet everyone can't stop talking about it, right? Everyone can't stop talking about his star ratings. And sure, like I have no recollection of the Brainbusters versus the Hart Foundation in 89. Did I say SummerSlam or Survivor Series? SummerSlam probably, right? Or is it Survivor Series? I don't give a fuck. In 89, okay? It's a 5-star tag match. That's good. I'll probably get around to watching it, and I'll give you my thoughts. To Dave, it's a 2. Who's wrong? Who's right? As long as we all enjoy wrestling. Well, I mean, I have a bit of an issue with that, because there are matches, and especially these days, there are matches that are absolutely 100% overrated and that people think are good, but aren't. And I think that ends up poisoning the well. The more you say a shitty match is good, and the more people buy into that, then everyone's standards are lowered and wrestling overall becomes bad. So, this thing about let's enjoy all wrestling, it kind of bothers me. It gets to me because that's, I don't want to sound gatekeepery, but this is kind of it. I'm still being kind of gatekeepery. What do you want from me? It's like you should be able to recognize what a good match is versus a bad one. And it's not just because it's a bad thing. It's not just because it's a good thing, right? It's just like a bad or a good thing. It's just like sometimes objectively, sometimes there are matches that are bad. I think there is a case to say things are objectively bad. I think there is a case. There are things where you can say this is bad because there are very technical reasons why this is bad. So we went over what Dax said and my little disagreements and whatnot. Then on Wednesday, Hardy responded to Harwood, believing his comments about 5-star matches were related to Hardy's podcast remarks. I think on wrestling Twitter, if you're going to decide to moan about someone's take, you should at them at DaxFTR. No, and that is absolute garbage. No, you don't. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. You do not have to at anyone if you disagree with their take. You can 100% just stealth be a bitch about it, and just like complain to your circle. That's fine. Now, the thing here is that if Matt Hardy is soft-skinned enough to see the comment and go, this is about me, isn't it? And then make a big deal out of it. Well, that's his problem. That's his issue. But don't ever at if you're adding someone, right? If you're adding someone, it's because you want to get into a fight. And sometimes you just want to vent. You just want to say, yeah, this is really dumb. And here's the other thing. Dax was absolutely just like giving his opinion, right? Just outright saying, you know what, in wrestling, I think the more you complain, and that's it. The older you get, the more you complain about 5-star matches. That's all. And he, if he wanted to at Matt Hardy, he could have, but he chose not to. He also probably didn't do it because he didn't want, all the raging fanboys to get really upset. Like, an AEW star versus a TNA star and all this bullshit, Yeah, it's not as if, look, I know Matt Hardy he's had thin skin for a long time, right? I wonder where he gets it from. Anyway, I also think the older I get, I give less than a fuck about what someone on the internet thinks of 5-star matches. And yet, here we are again. Here we are once again chatting about what makes a 5-star match. But Matt Hardy gives less than a fuck about it. But here we are. He's continuing. The matter was put to bed. He had his little podcast with John Alba. He talked about it, which was dopey enough as it is. Dax he gave his thoughts. He's entitled to. He's got a free Twitter account like everyone else is. It's a free country in the United States, as far as I know still. So he just gave his opinion. But yet here we are talking about 5-star matches and how little a fuck Matt Hardy gives about 5-star matches. That's not care. That's the epitome of not caring. That is the That is the Empire State Building of not caring, or whatever the fuck the tallest building in the world is, right? Isn't it in Abu Dhabi? It's like something over there, right? Whatever it is. I know the Empire State Building hasn't been the tallest building in the world in a long, long time. Doesn't matter. Like, the first thing you thought was like, oh, wow, okay, that's really tall. That's the first thing you thought about, and that's the most important thing, actually, that you thought about. What I care about, this is back to Matt and his tweet. And yes, it's a long tweet because he pays Elon. Probably, maybe not. Maybe he's a legacy. Maybe he's a legacy blue check mark, right? He probably doesn't pay for it, but he gets all the benefits of Twitter Blue. What I care about, what our matches are, drawing at the box office, and how they make people feel. I swear to God, you know my theory that I had last week? Not last week, last Monday. You know the theory that I had, that he was told on his way out of AEW that they weren't going to stay, and probably one of the reasons he was told that they were letting him go was because they didn't draw. What's the matter? Epitome. It's the epitome. What's the problem? Address the pronunciation is fine. It's epitome. What's your issue? What is your issue? What is wrong with the pronunciation of epitome? Oh, it's epitome. Okay. That's right. Now I just realized. Okay. Now, I'll be completely frank here. Let's be transparent here. Now I understand. Now I get it. This is the French part of my brain sort of sneaking in. It does once in a while, and it sneaks into my English pronunciation once in a while. Because in French, epitome is epitome. That's how you pronounce it. So that legitimately, blame the French side. That's exactly because now I'm like, oh wait, no, it is epitome. It is epitome. Legitimately, I apologize because I do know it's epitome, but that's that legitimately was my French side taking over. Now see, I'm distracted. Now I don't know what we were talking about. Now I don't know what I was upset about. I was upset about something. Oh yeah, I'm upset about Matt Hardy and talking about box office. See, all this derailed the fucking stream now. Now I think I'm just going to shut it off and I'm going to go watch the Game Awards. So essentially, I had the theory on Monday that when he was released from AEW, someone must have told him that that one of the reasons he was being released, I'm not saying it's the only reason, but one of the reasons was probably that he didn't draw anymore, because every time he has an opportunity to talk about how much he draws, he talks about it, just like he did with the show with the match that had the match with the Dudleys, right? Their second retirement match, or their second final match, whatever the fuck they called it. He was proud to say, well, the Hardys still clearly can draw, right? And it was particularly funny when it was revealed later on that the show was mostly papered. I mean, most of us had realized that the show had been heavily papered, and it was not mostly papered, but heavily papered. It was, and it turns out that it was heavily papered. So Matt Hardy didn't even draw as much as he thought he did. So when he comes back around here talking about, how much the Hardy Boys have drawn, how much my matches are drawing at the box office. Hey, you know what I'm ready to say? This is what I'm ready to say. I think Matt Hardy matches have drawn $0 throughout his career. I think a big fat zero buckaroos, pal. Now, the Hardy Boys, we could have a little argument. I think there are people who probably paid some money at some point to go see the Hardy Boys, probably in AEW, and stuff like that. And probably definitely, in fact, in TNA, because when they do their meet and greets, they have these huge lineups and whatnot. So but Matt Hardy, a draw. Let's be real here. Don't make me laugh. I enjoy FTR's work ethic and talent. I also think AEW emphasizes. See, no one's pointing out Matt Hardy, that he can't even spell emphasis or emphasizes. He spells emphases, but no one's going after Matt Hardy. We'll go after Warren Hayes, though, who speaks two languages, and sometimes they sort of crisscross over the words that are identical in English and French. Well, we'll go after Warren Hayes, though. But we won't go after Matt Hardy, who can't spell worth a fuck. I enjoy FTR's work ethic and talent. I also think AEW emphasizes matches more than story, character, emotional investment, and it makes it challenging to grow your audience from a niche core, which is my opinion. Now, I'm not bitter. Now, if you wanted more solid, concrete proof that Matt Hardy does not watch AEW, you have it right here. You have it absolutely 100% right here. Story, character, and emotional investment. There are stories everywhere from top to bottom in AEW, to the point that it is a detriment, I find, sometimes to the company. Sometimes I just want Tony Khan to go back a few years to where he was in his brain space a few years ago, where he'd just come out of nowhere and book a cool match and have the cool match happen, and everyone would go home, hit the pay window, and go to In-N-Out Burger or whatever the fuck. Now it's now you can't even sneeze without your sneeze particles landing on a story in AEW. There's stories everywhere. Nothing on the show ever happens without there being a setup. Even fucking Mercedes Moné on fucking Collision had to have a setup with Layla Gray for a match with Layla Gray. They created a story. They created a setup for that match for Mercedes Moné versus Layla Gray. In any universe, this match doesn't have any build because no one cares, because Mercedes comes in and destroys her and moves on. Stories everywhere in AEW. Nothing happens on TV without something justifying why the thing that's happening is happening. So Matt Hardy just doesn't watch the product because he's probably upset, which is fine. I don't have, it's better off him not watching than hate watching. That's a good thing. But on the opposite side, he's sitting there saying that AEW doesn't do stories, characters, or emotional, or he says that they emphasize matches more than, and that couldn't be farther from the truth. I don't think they emphasize matches more. Not anymore. Not anymore. I think maybe there was a time, but not anymore. Matt is just following the grifter byline here at this point. Well, not the byline, just the line, the headline, the grifter headline at this point. I want AEW to succeed. It's good for the industry. I love and enjoy great matches that get me emotionally invested. I don't secretly wish I had 5-star matches. If you say so, buddy, whatever a 5-star match even is. Again, what is the point of this argument? What is the, he himself is making all of these huge points. He's making sure to break down his thought process. Whatever a 5-star match is. And what are we arguing about if you can't put it into words? If ultimately you want to say everyone is entitled to what a 5-star match is, so then why the fuck are you complaining? What are you even complaining about if by definition what you're saying is I don't even know what a 5-star match is and I don't care because everyone has a different interpretation of what a 5-star match is. So what is he upset about? Do you see how fucking stupid this is? Like, this response that he gave Dax ultimately has made Matt Hardy look even more stupid than he did when he released when he talked on his podcast about it. Because he's trying to, I prefer this 5-star matches. I prefer stories over 5-star matches. I don't secretly wish I had 5-star matches, whatever a 5-star match is. Then what's the point? What is the point? You can't even define what it is. So move along, pal. And he says it right here. Who's wrong? Who's right? Who gives a fuck? As long as we all enjoy wrestling. Aping Dax, echoing what he's saying. But again, just like throwing water on his own theory, on his own argument. Putting it out all by himself. He is both the arsonist and the firefighter. It's such a stupid thing to say. So either you take a stand and you say, the 5-star matches, all they are, these high profile, work rate, New Japan, Tokyo Dome shit. Like, you can bring out all those arguments, but no one ever does. Ultimately, what they want to say is they're just mad at Dave again. And they'll say Dave is not relevant. Like, this is a backhanded way of saying Dave is not relevant, because they're not complaining about Warren Hayes' 5-star matches. That's not what they're bitching about. They don't care about me. They care about Dave. But then they'll tell you in the same breath, Dave Meltzer is old and doesn't matter. But then they'll keep talking about the 5-star matches and the 5-star ratings and the 5 stars in the Tokyo Dome and all that shit, right? Harwood then responded to Hardy. Matt, I have no idea what you're talking about, why you think this is about you, or why you're so upset with me. I only ever had good things to say about you and your brother and what you've meant to tag team wrestling. I thought until today, we always had a great relationship. I mean, let's be real, Dax. Dax is being a little disingenuous here. Okay? This is Dax going, I don't know. I don't know why you thought I was talking about you. Me talking about 5-star matches in this, and why people think they're dumb, right in the window of time where you just spoke about it on your podcast. I don't know why you think this is about you. I didn't mention you by name. Wow, I thought we were cool, Matt. I mean, it's like, it's so frustratingly, like, it's dumb. Like, to be completely honest, in this little exchange here, there are no heroes. There are no winners. There are no heroes. There's just two dopey wrestlers being dopey on the internet. That's essentially what it is. But Matt Hardy is the dopiest of the two. Like, if we're going to grade, if we're going to grade on a level of dopiness, I think Matt Hardy is a 5-star dope here. I think that's his lot here. And Dax is maybe like I think this opening statement here, where he says, I don't know what you're talking about, why you think this is about you. That's a 1/2-star extra right there. That's a 3 3/4 star dope right there. Probably was a 3-star dope, but went up to 3 3/4 because of that comment there. You're like, Dax, what are we doing? It's so incredibly frustrating when it's so incredibly frustrating because, like I said on Monday, this separation of church and state between stories and 5-star matches is absolutely preposterous, and it's really like it's idiot brained to think that you cannot, like, you have to choose. It's either a 5-star match or a storytelling match, when you can easily make the argument that some of the greatest 5-star matches out there also had an incredibly compelling story or emotional investment, right? As if you can't have great in-ring storytelling on top of that to create that emotional investment. Just look at what Fletcher and Speedball did on Dynamite last night. That's a match that these guys created a connection with the audience strictly through the match, because they didn't have like this simmering rivalry where, I don't know, Speedball stole, Kyle Fletcher's dopey glasses, and Kyle's been trying to get them back, and this has been going on for months, kind of thing. It's like, none of that. It's just two guys in the ring creating the story in the ring and getting people into. You don't think that the people in not Atlanta weren't invested in that match? They were so incredibly involved and into the match because these two guys were telling a tremendous in-ring story. Plus, on top of that, incredible athleticism and great moves. It's the best of both worlds, and that's usually what a 5-star match is. But Matt Hardy, like I said on Monday, and like Dax insinuated here, is just like too old, seeing the up and coming crop of talent, just being naturally more gifted and better, faster, stronger than them, and them just throwing on a gauntlet to try and preserve their relevancy in a business that is slowly aging them out, and feel like they have to create this distinction between the two, if only to save their ass. Look, Bubba Ray Dudley has been doing this for years. Bubba Ray has always been a sub-average wrestler, but somehow he has tricked everyone into believing that he's this creative genius, that he's this incredible emotional storyteller that just exudes presence, charisma, and is able to make people fawn over his work. But he's one of these wrestlers that he likes to talk about it so much that eventually it becomes the truth. But Bubba Ray Dudley has never been a great pro wrestler. He's never been even a good pro wrestler. He never has been. He knows this deep inside, but he used other attributes to succeed. Like being overtly racist to people in promos and sexist. That's a great way to get heat. And falling into tables. Let's not forget that. If only they had each other's numbers to hash this out, but workers got to work. Yeah, pretty much. Like it's not like you and me arguing with a pro wrestler on Twitter. Like these guys are colleagues. What are we doing here? I hope I get into a situation where I don't have to talk about this again, because it is so exhausting and frustrating and I hate it. I really do hate it. Just kind of quickly here before we wrap everything up. The Wrestle Kingdom 20 card was officially revealed today. We finally got the entire scope of the card. And I think like the biggest news to come out of it, I think there's two big news items to come out of the card reveal. The main event is going to be Hiroshi Tanahashi's final match against Kazuchika Okada. It will not be the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship match between Kinosuke Takeshita and Yota Tsuji, which I must agree with. I think it is a smart idea. And it is a 7-match card, which is a little surprising. But look, let's break down a little bit, all the news that we have. We haven't talked about Wrestle Kingdom in a bit. And, this is not going to be like a breakdown, a preview of Wrestle Kingdom, but we're gonna try and throw some things together here. The show is going to be sold out, and it's going to be probably the biggest dome show that New Japan has put on in years, right? They haven't announced the official tally yet. New Japan has stated that the event is sold out. They've stopped selling tickets for Wrestle Kingdom on their website, so it doesn't sound like they're kayfabing this one, or that they're doing the promoter thing, right? If they've halted ticket prices, then we are very, very close, or in the vicinity, or maybe even into the vicinity of 50,000 people who are going to be attending it, right? And that is crazy. That is crazy. Wrestle Kingdom 12, I believe, is like considered to be the I think it's considered to be like the biggest single night Wrestle Kingdom, where attendance had already started being tracked and whatnot. 43,000 people in attendance, right? I think there was like 35,000 paid or something, like, there were a lot of comps thrown out, but 43,000 people in attendance, right? Wrestle Kingdom 14, night 1, that did 40,000 people. Wrestle Kingdom 19 last year, 24,000 people into the Tokyo Dome, and people were going, yay! And it's bonkers, man. It's just nuts. It's absolutely crazy. Main evented by Tanahashi and Okada. Got Rich Craich from the flagship, who pulled out some interesting stats here that I'm going to share with you. Wrestle Kingdom 20 is going to be the 4th Wrestle Kingdom main event featuring Tanahashi versus Okada. They previously main evented the Wrestle Kingdom 7, 9, and 10. Tanahashi first headlined a January 4 Tokyo Dome show in 2005 called the Tucon Festival Wrestling World 2005. This was before the branding of, this was before the Wrestle Kingdom branding. And his opponent in 2005, anyone want to take a wager? It was Shinsuke Nakamura, which was for the under 30 title. You remember? That thing screams Inokiism more than the under 30 title. It's tremendous. January 4th, 2026 will mark Tanahashi's 10th and final Tokyo Dome main event. January 4 Tokyo Dome main event, which is spectacular. Kazuchika Okada was going to be, as far as he goes, it's going to be competing in his 9th Wrestle Kingdom main event. Okada first main evented Wrestle Kingdom at Wrestle Kingdom 7. And like we mentioned, the semi-main event is going to be the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship match. I think it is a good idea. I think it's look, I know traditionally New Japan always ends with the World Championship, but it is what it is. Like, I don't think there's a bigger match. I don't think there's anything more pressing or interesting than this. What a hard act to follow. And, one could even assume that once the Tanahashi match would be done, I think there's a lot of people who'd file out of the building too. This will be the 3rd singles match between Takeshita and Tsuji. They fought each other twice during the G1 climax. And of course, the other bit of news here is, of course, Aaron Wolf is going to be making his New Japan Pro Wrestling in-ring debut. The household name, the famed Olympic gold medalist judoka. And he'll be facing Evil of the House of Torture. And the match is going to be for the Never Openweight Championship. And Aaron Wolf's match is going to be 3rd from the top. So those are going to be your top 3 matches for Wrestle Kingdom. After that, if we continue in descending order, we're going to have the 4-way for the number 1. We're going to have a 4-way to determine the number 1 contender for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. El Desperado, Kosei Fujita, Taiji Ishimori, and Sho, which is such a strange match to put on Wrestle Kingdom, especially considering that Doki, who is the current IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion, is not booked on the card. There's a couple of people that are what's the word I'm looking for? That are shining via their absence on this card here. I'll talk about them in a bit. Then we'll also have, before that, we'll have a special 10-man tag match where, the War Dogs and the unaffiliated Shingo Takagi, Dave Finlay, Gabe Kidd, Joe Maloney, and Hiromu Takahashi will be taking on the United Empire. Great-O-Khan, Callum Newman, Henare, who is going to return to action, which is very cool, and 2 X's. We've got 2 mystery people who will be joining the United Empire, at least the team. Your guess is as good as mine. I have no idea what this is gonna, who this could be, what's going to be the plan here. But again, like, this is a really strange match to put on a Wrestle Kingdom card. Naito Bushi, yeah, sure. Could you imagine? Anyway, very uninspired. Let's put it that way. Before that, we're going to get a match for the IWGP Women's and New Japan Strong Women's double title match, where double champion Saya Kamitani, where Strong Women's champion Saya Kamitani is going to be fighting the IWGP Women's Champion Shuri. So I don't know if they are if it's going to be a double belt scenario or if they're just going to merge both titles. I would be very much in favor of a merge. Just get rid of the strong open weight stuff. Just get rid of them. No one cares. It's just done. It's a dead brand. New Japan Strong's a dead brand. Never mind. So see, this is cool. And I'd like this to be higher on the card. Like, this is much more compelling than a 10-man tag between the fucking War Dogs and the unaffiliated versus the United Empire. Shuri versus Kamitani fucking rules. So that's good. And then the first match is going to be a never open weight 6-man championship tornado Rambo. What is an open weight 6-man championship tornado Rambo, Warren? Well, I'm glad you asked. Let's read how it's going to go, how this is going to go down with the rules as per written on New Japan World. In quite a different form to the way Yo perhaps expects to defend the gold, the never 6-man titles will be at stake in this unique Rambo environment where teams enter at 1-minute intervals, and if one member is pinned, submitted, or thrown over the top rope, that team is eliminated. All right. So that has the potential to be an absolute cluster. Also, they're also advertising the presence of a former or current, I don't know, a pop star by the name of Kaisei Takechi, who apparently wrestles in DDT. And he will be joining the never open weight 6-man tag team title tornado Rambo match. I don't know anything about this guy other than he's very good looking. I don't know anything about the guy. I've never seen him wrestle. Yeah. So this is so I'm assuming, since this is the first match, this is going to be the pre-show. Like, there's no pre-show. Look, it's fine. It's fine. 7 matches. That doesn't seem a lot, Warren. Oh, you are correct. That indeed does not seem like a lot. I'd say it seems like very little. It is indeed not a lot. Do you want my theory as to why? Here's how I think this is going down. I think that this event is a 7-match show because they need to time things out with the TV broadcast, right? And I think that they just might be broadcasting on television, right? The last 3 matches. Now, if you recall, months ago when Aaron Wolf had joined New Japan had made an announcement that Aaron Wolf's match with Evil was going to be, well, we didn't know it was Evil at the time, but his match was going to be broadcast on television for like the first time in, decades at this point, which was a big deal in and about itself. I'm starting to think that maybe the deal is a little more than just the Aaron Wolf match, and they might just go with the top 3 matches of the card. So that means that Wrestle Kingdom will have to time itself to be broadcast in Japan on national television, which I think is a very good look. I think it's a good idea. I think it's a good idea to be if they have been able to work that out and get some actual TV time for 3 matches. Those are the 3 matches you want on. You want the Aaron Wolf to grab the headlines and get people's attention. You want to show off Takeshita and Tsuji, 2 young guys, big spot, charismatic dudes, and these are, the champions and whatnot. I think like that's a good way to broadcast on your television, to put on your TV, 2 younger guys. I mean, we say young guys, but they're both over 30. You know what I'm talking about. Charismatic guys that are going to have a hell of a match. And then you end with Tanahashi and Okada. And Tanahashi is, he's putting 50,000 people in the Tokyo Dome. So there's a significant effect that his retirement is having with Japanese wrestling fans. Why wouldn't you put it on television then? Why wouldn't you throw it on TV and sort of live with that and just broadcast it and have people get excited about it? Why wouldn't you do that? Right? That would make a ton of sense. I think that's I think it's speculation on my part, right? But if they pulled it off, good for them. If they managed to get like more than just the Aaron Wolf match on TV, good for them. But I'm convinced that if the Wrestle Kingdom card is a little lighter, I think that it's partly due to it's partly in reason of television and being broadcast on TV and needing to line up with that. But I'm going to tell you, between you and me, I don't mind a shorter Wrestle Kingdom card. I don't mind if these big matches, these big cards, I should say, whether it's New Japan, AEW, WWE, well, WWE doesn't count because, they're usually 5 matches on a show. But, New Japan, AEW, I don't mind if your big shows like this have less matches and you don't get to see everyone and not everyone gets booked on the show, because then we can go back to how it used to be, where the guys, mostly the guys back then, I was going to say in gals, but mostly the guys back then, the guys who ended up on pay-per-view were the guys who deserved it, were the guys who worked their asses off, who were in angles, like who had whatever, before they became bloated shows with, we just got to try and stuff as many people we can on the show. I don't have an issue with this in the slightest. Now, where I might have an issue with is the people that they chose to put on these cards. Like I said, the 10-man, excuse me, choking. The 10-man match, couldn't give a shit about it. I don't care about the 10-man match. the four-way, a number one contendership match on Wrestle Kingdom is kind of bonkers. I don't understand that. Why not put the champion? Why not have the champion defend his belt? Plus, it's Doki, who has built-in fans that people want to see. I don't understand that. And the guys they're leaving off, Zack Sabre Jr., Shota Umino, main evented Wrestle Kingdom 19. They are nowhere to be found on this card. Yuya Uemura, nowhere to be found on this card. And these were guys that were significant, that had significant roles. Like they might end up in the Rambo, but that's not the point. You don't have these guys end up in the Rambo. These guys should be being positioned for bigger things. Hiroki Goto is not advertised for this show. A guy who had a Cinderella year this year and who the fans still have an attachment to. Plus, he's going to be in a Street Fighter film and he is nowhere to be found. It's wild. So we're going to do a proper breakdown of Wrestle Kingdom in a couple of weeks. This is not what we're going to do here, but I will leave this parting thought. There's been a lot of talk in regards to Wrestle Kingdom. I've heard this opinion being thrown around quite a bit, that if New Japan wants this show to be successful, truly successful, it has to capitalize off of the presence of Hiroshi Tanahashi drawing all these eyeballs to the product to put on the best fucking possible show that will show everyone who's tuning in, who bought tickets, whatnot, this is the direction moving forward. Because look, they are doubling the attendance from last year's Wrestle Kingdom. There are people who are coming to the show who do not usually go to Wrestle Kingdoms, who probably don't go usually when they pop into town. People that these are people who are either lapsed fans, maybe God bless me, casual fans, maybe people that heard, oh yeah, I remember, a lapsed fan, heard about Hiroshi Tanahashi retiring and coming back around or whatnot. Maybe it's a combination of all of this. The point is that they have a huge number of eyeballs, and that's not even counting the people who are going to be watching this on broadcast television. They have the opportunity to create a whole new bunch of fans with this retirement show. And quite frankly, I think the card is underwhelming enough where people are just going to be like, I don't know who the stars are. Look at all these 4 guys. There's 10 guys in this. I don't know who's Jack from Tony in this one here. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Instead of really truly showcasing look, the only other single talent that is being showcased are Saya Kamitani and Shuri, and they don't even go here. They don't even work for the promotion. So I am not convinced. That this is the way to go. I don't think that this is the card that will convert back lapsed fans, that will create new fans. I don't think so. I'm not feeling it. There's a lot of elements here that just come across as your regular humdrum show. Your run-of-the-mill, fucking Sakura Genesis, whatever, But they and look, the guys wrestling, they might all prove me wrong, but there is no way a lapsed fan is going to sit down and watch the never open weight 6-man tag team tournament, Tornado Rambo, and go, God damn, this is fantastic. Like no one. We're going to do a proper preview, and we are absolutely doing a review, of course. So we'll be able to circle back on all of this. But if you were to ask me my early gut feeling, I'm not sure the New Japan booking in 2026 is going to be off to such a hot start. If this is what they're doing for their opening salvo, their biggest show of the year, I'm not quite sure. Anyway. And that about does it for another edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. Thank you all once again for joining me. I appreciate it tremendously. And if you made it this far, well, I think you can easily leave a like and a review and a rating and all that. I mean, it's worth it at this point, right? I will be back tomorrow, Thursday, with the AEW Dynamite review. Just as I will be around for a live stream as well Thursday evening, only to be back next week, which, we will probably have a holiday schedule next week, to be completely honest. There'll be some things that might be preempted. There will be some things that probably will not happen at all. So be sure to follow me in join the Mr. Warren Hayes Show Discord, or follow me on Blue Sky at MrWarrenHayes.show, and or just keep an eye on the community tab here on YouTube, and you will not miss a thing. You will be ensured that you stay on top of everything. So there you have it, folks. We're done. Thank you all very much for listening. Go watch some Randy Orton and get back to me, and I'll see you next time.